Syrian conflict in 2 minutes. The Syrian crisis is a war of religion, power, freedom, and hatred. It has created the biggest refugee crisis in the world. 4 million refugees have fled to neighboring countries. The Syrian war officially began on the 15th March 2011 and continues to this date. However, Syria has been a country with public unrest for years, much of stemming from the governing power, the al-Assad family. Their unkept promises and questionable ruling has led the country into standing up and ultimately starting a civil war. The sparks for the war were directly linked to the 2011 Arab Spring. However, the fighting in Syria arose in March 2011 when a group of teenagers were caught painting anti-government slogans across walls and were arrested for doing so. Rebels began to stand up and began violently fighting. This sparked the Assad family to send the army in to fight back and calm the people. However, some of the soldiers refused and quit the Syrian army to go and form rebel groups to fight the Syrian government. Fighting began in smaller towns, however by 2012 fighting had reached the large city of Aleppo and the capital, Damascus. This war of power and religion is seen to have two main sides: the Alawite-led government of President Assad and the Sunni Muslim rebels. Both sides have support stemming from nearby neighbors and also countries such as the USA, Russia and China who supply weapons and military. This obviously comes with a return from the Syrian government, often being oil and money. The Syrian war is a snippet of what war in current times is like. Less soldiers are dying, however in their place more civilians are dying. As of January 2015, the death toll had risen above 220,000, with most of these being civilians, many young children and women. One of the largest problems in Syria is the fact that the government in charge, the Alawites, represent just 12% of the country's population, with 72% of the population being Sunni Muslims who are the rebels. However, with Iran giving a large helping hand to the Syrian government, along with Russia and China, the Syrian government has managed to stand against the rebels so far. However, due to Saudi Arabia's large hatred for Iran, they have since provided artillery and other forms of help to the rebels in the hope that if Syria falls into dismay it will weaken Iran. The UN so far have not managed to come up with a regime to solve the conflict or find peace. No resolution seems clear. And so we have war within a war. The government versus the rebels, rebel groups versus other rebel groups, Saudi Arabia versus Iran, and lastly the Sunnis versus the Alawites. Many experts see the only end to the war being when Bashar al-Assad finally falls. However, whoever will enter power following his death will have to face the challenge of fixing the country on the edge with limited food supplies, the task of rebuilding many large cities and fulfilling the promises of the Arab Spring.